I identify as Chicano Mexicano, and the reason I kind of hyphenate my identity is that I was born and raised here, but I want to make that connection to Mexico, that connection to my history. My people have been coming across the border for hundreds of years. Like, my family's from Texas, and they migrated up as migrant workers, working the fields, and eventually they found their way to a small town called Saginaw, Michigan, which is where I grew up. And Saginaw is like a lot of cities across the country. After the automotive industry closed, there was no real options, and so there was a lot of violence and crime, but at the same time, there was a lot of love. I had a lot of family, and we shared a lot of different experiences, just like any other Mexican family from the Midwest. And being from the Midwest and being Latino, sometimes, it's just a different experience. Obviously, you deal with the cold, and you deal with the winters, and even just the way we speak. Whereas, like, for my family, we don't speak as much Spanish, but obviously, culturally, we're not white. Culturally, we're not black. We're something else. And so growing up with that identity, I always had great mentors that taught me what it was to be Chicano or Chicana. During that experience, from me working in the fields and working in a factory in Michigan, I quickly learned what it meant to struggle and what it meant to work. And I also quickly learned that wasn't something I wanted to do. And so I had to find another outlet. And dealing with some of the violence and the issues of oppression, I had to find an outlet, and that outlet for me was poetry.
I would rather be dead, the truth shall set you free. At least it was taught to me at Adam 8 from the tree of knowledge, like in a paradise with no key. Knowledge of history gives you identity. Knowledge of self-history gives you identity, which is more powerful than any gun, any weapon, any army. It's combat of the mind. This independence can make crime to kill the population. Made a climb my ancestors tried 2 times, when he put it around, seeking to find. Be prepared to climb in order to reach the divine.
I moved to Chicago when I was 21. I quickly found a community that was vibrant and full of culture and history, and that was a Puerto Rican community. I didn't really know Puerto Ricans. I think I knew like one Puerto Rican family from where I grew up, but there was this whole history of radical politics, of culture, of identity, and I wanted to be a part of that. And it didn't matter that I wasn't Puerto Rican. There was also a lot of Mexicans and Chicanos around that work, and slowly I found myself becoming an activist fully. And it was really that work, that 12 years of work in Chicago, that helped formulate my creative expression, helped formulate kind of my voice.
Blessed, Platanos fly. Everybody knows that I speak that, whether you go down to Papa's Cache. If you know Division Street, 2 cracks, Paseo Boricua. If you from there, you can shout out now. Wepa, everybody know when we flow. My people from Houston, undocumented if you know. I keep it now for my Mexican people, mi gente la raza. If you don't know whether you do quince or quince not, I keep it high, rock the spot. Right now, mariachi music player from East LA.
I look at my keynotes and I look at my performances as ways to share. I use poetry as a tool of resistance. So when I'm creating a piece or doing a show, it's really to kind of have people engage in critical thought. I really try to, and I hope to inspire people to see the world differently. And I hope that in some way, something that I write can impact their life in a positive way. I see all across the country, whenever I'm performing, young people come up to me and they feel really motivated, and that motivates me. Because we come from these spaces that are ugly. We come from spaces that, are not supposed to have successful people come out of them. And in a way, they're throwaway spaces, right? We think about the ghetto, we think about the hood. But out of all of that ugliness, there's so much beautiful talent and ability. And what I hope is to kind of find those spaces where folks are looking for outlets and looking for their voice. And so at the end of the day, if I can inspire 1 or 2 people with my work, I feel complete. And in the end of a performance, if you were to come out to one of my sets, I would hope that you would leave to understand that critical thought is so important in the process of liberation, and that poetry, spoken word, and these tools that we use as keynotes and workshops are really just tools in a process of liberation to free ourselves from all the different forms of oppression that exist in our communities.
Reality got me hurt and uncertain what the future for I used to be. Caught up in the cycle of poverty, drug abuse is an HIV, robbery, lost sense of community, bullshit, practice of equality, erase history, ghetto misery, killing for currency, no identity, 3 strikes, lock you up, that's just policy. Wake up, save us theology, outright tyranny. Hope us free that we are free, roots to the cut down tree, locked with a broken key, lost responsibility, time to create our own realities.